Today we have Rebecca Barney here. She is a MGIS graduate student graduating this spring. Currently works at U-Spatial as a research assistant and a teaching assistant in various GIS courses, cartography this semester. Her research interests include transportation, education, and design, and today she is going to show us and tell us about GIS for Adobe Cloud App.
Thanks. So what I have for today is I'm going to go through the application for Adobe Creative Cloud that Esri has developed and work through its capabilities in kind of a demonstration setting, showing some different examples. The first thing I want to talk about is what the GIS application for Adobe Creative Cloud is. It developed following the rollout of ArcGIS Pro, and one of the things that ArcGIS Pro has done is that it no longer exports to Illustrator files. And Esri doesn't intend on adding that aspect to it at any point in time, and so instead it's developed this application as kind of a replacement for that feature, and to still allow to work with maps in Illustrator, just from a different approach. And why they made the decision not to support that is because Adobe hasn't opened its file format since the late 90s, and so in ArcGIS map, when you would export to Illustrator, you'd be exporting to an Illustrator file that's really outdated, and that's one of the reasons why the files that you get in that export was so messy and difficult to work with. And so rather than trying to continuously work in that format, moving with Pro, they've made so that it's far more functional and easy to work with in Illustrator using this application instead. So this application more as an approach for making paper maps from your web maps than trying to create paper maps and then export it into Illustrator. It's the map export from ArcGIS Online is a very disappointing tool when it comes to just functionality and in creating map layouts. So this connects directly with ArcGIS Online and all of your data and the different elements that you have already hosted there, and can bring right into Illustrator so that you can make that paper layout and design far better. The only downfall to this really is that you have to be subscribed to the Adobe Creative Cloud, pay that monthly subscription fee for Adobe. But if you do have the Adobe Creative Cloud suite, then the ArcGIS application as redeveloped is completely free to use. So that is really great, and it's pretty new in what it's released. The first release was in July 2017. Release 1.0 wasn't completely functional, but December 2017, the release 1.1 was far more functional, and that's where it's at right now. So it's become a tool that can be used for a lot of different areas, and I'm sure it'll get improved as time goes on. And last thing to mention is that for those who are familiar with Map Publisher, you'll find that a lot of the tools and skill sets are pretty familiar. And from there, I am currently on the Esri webpage for the ArcGIS Maps for Adobe Creative Cloud, and it's something I search ArcGIS Maps for the Adobe Creative Cloud. It's the first result that comes in, and they've got a support page and information for about, but really what you need is this Download Now button, which will take you to the Creative Cloud Exchange format, which is where you set up. I already have the extension, so it's giving me the little pop-up saying that everything is there. But you would just click here to acquire, download it. It doesn't take very long to download, but this is the Adobe page for the application. And once you've downloaded that, then you can go ahead and open it in Illustrator. So what I have currently is just an empty document. Really, this document will have no implication on your map, but because it creates a new file within the application. But you find the application within extensions, and it's listed here, the ArcGIS maps for Adobe Creative Cloud. And it's just on Window tab. And there we go. Oh no, I signed in recently, so it didn't. Oh, okay. So with opening, it will ask you to sign in. There's two different directions to sign in. You can use the complimentary access, which is a free Esri account that they want you to sign up for as kind of a way to keep track of what data you're using and make it so you can upload shapefiles and things to ArcGIS Online to gain access to now. Or you sign in using an enterprise account, which is what I'm going to do now. The only huge difference between these is what data is accessible. So Esri's list layers and the data that they provided, you can use within the downloading tool within the signing in, but in the complimentary access, there are just certain data sources that you may be able to see, but you won't be able to download. So I'm going to sign in to my U of M Enterprise real quick. I can, or not. Hack it slowly. Right. Most difficult part of the demonstration. So now where did my window go? Rude. As is done. Okay, so it says that I'm signed in, so that's good. I'm going to make this window bigger so you guys can kind of see what we're doing. So there's different tabs that will kind of appear as we go through the process, but you'll first work within the map board, and that's going to help set the scale and the map modifications for your base. So so there's two buttons up here you can choose between. You can choose between copy extent and content from an existing map. So if you've created an ArcGIS Online, then you can connect to that immediately. And I will talk about that more later, but I'm going to first start off with the manual create and edit tab, which then I'm going to turn it off for a moment so I can talk on the map, zoom. It's set originally to the dark base map, and you can toggle in there. You can also search up at the top. So if I search in Minneapolis, then it will take me to that extent. And then once I have gotten myself a little bit to the extent that I'm looking for, then I will just draw using their and it will give me a map board option. So name here, it doesn't matter much, but it is the name that is given to your final map Illustrator file when you're done. So I'm just going to call it Twin City Bikes, because that's what we're going to work with right now. You can set with different presets for what type of artboards that you're expecting. You can also set the width and height, and or you can set the level of detail, and they do provide helpful descriptions next to each scale zone of what you would expect it to be able to represent. So it automatically has me in for cities, and I am looking at cities, so that's a good scale for me. And information in, I can make more adjustments by either enlarging or shrinking my map board if I'm wanting to add more space, and can go back into that window again if I want to modify anything. And once I have done that, then I can preview add content, right? So this is the compilation window, which I'm just going to throw in here. So we've got them. And this is going to be where I start adding my data layers to my map. If I go too far, I'm going to want to projection. And it's really odd in how they've set up the projections here. If we go into the current map settings, which I think you have to be, you have to be map compilation to do it. You would do this first because anytime you change your map projection, data or anything you have done to prep the map will get removed because it can't project all of the data initially there. So here I'm just going to look up UTM, and it's going to give me some helpful little links with along with recommending which zone you're currently in to begin with. So that's very nice of them. And now it's because the topographic map cannot be helpful. Then instead, I'm going to X that up. I'm going to pick a base map. Illustrating. All right. We'll just go web Mercator for now. And I promise it worked yesterday, so we'll get there. Okay. Let's try this again. No? Go with that one. There we go. Okay, it's back now. So before that, I'm going to set it to a base map that I know can be projected, which is the vector street map. So something to note specifically for the Adobe app, they have all of their ArcGIS Online base maps available. However, one of the huge power of using this app is using their vector street or their natural earth maps. And so the ones that have this little orange sticker on top of them, those are the ones that you really want to focus on. Even if it's a map that you don't really actually want for your final product, they have a huge amount of functionality where you can edit every single layer in the base map itself in Adobe Illustrator so that you can make those changes or take away different pieces of data if it's too much. But it does provide a lot of map detail, so you can pick and choose what's important. So the nice thing about the vector as well is that it can actually be projected. Just base has to be chosen first. And there we go. Now we have a projected base map. So let's see here. So about vector tile set. Something to note as well. So the vector street map is one that I end up using the most, just because I'm working a lot with more larger scales and human-based data or cities. But the natural earth base map is a really neat one, but it needs to be at a smaller scale for it to display. If I were to use it right now, it's going to show very little actual base map data for the text. But if I took another map board later, that will show more of where that's useful. Now data. So we created our map board. We've put in the map and set a projection. There's multiple different ways to add data to the maps. You can just add lists from ArcGIS Online. So this is pretty great. They you can search for maps for Creative Cloud, so any layers that have that tag on it will immediately search within that location. You can also search within organizations or the Living Atlas or just ArcGIS Online as a whole. This search function works pretty well, but it's not always full encompassing what is on ArcGIS Online. I've had far more luck using the Enter ArcGIS Online item from URL feature more often. An example of that would be, I need to open a tab. I've got this handy link to a set that I found. And this is pedestrian bicycle trails in Minneapolis specifically. But when you're on the item homepage, so you're looking for the link that has home item HTML in it, that is the link that it is looking for. So if I copy that in, I can enter the ArcGIS Online URL, and I'm just going to paste it. And I click the search button, and please show up. So you can select it, and it will give a full description going into ArcGIS Online. It will take you back to that home page, or you can just click the Add button, and it will add it to your layers. So a lot of the times, I might be looking through here for specific themes, but I'll logging into ArcGIS Online and using their search tools just to know that it actually exists or is easier to find, because I, for whatever reason, can't find that Minneapolis Trails object just using the search here. Mileage may vary. Another thing that you can do is you can overwrite map. So if you didn't set initially your artboard according to a map that you already have in ArcGIS Online, then you can do it at this step as well, and which I'm not going to show currently, because we're pulling data not from an Arc Online map, but I'll come back to that in a second demonstration that I'll do. And you can add places, and this is just something where you can search and find them. So if I do high schools as just a whole and for it, it's going to show all of the items that it could find within my map board scope, which is of them, and I'm just going to add them all. And so there you will see that there will be places layer added onto the map. And finally, other things that you can do is you can add layer from file. And so this is just searching within data sets, and I've got one with nice ride with station locations here. And this is just a CSV file that has XY coordinates for every station, and it also takes in and does geocoding. So, okay, layer from file. So, so this is just a St. Paul Public Schools file set that has addresses in it, and they can draw on as well. And so now I've got a lot of different data sets here, and it's kind of messy, but they do have some tools for cleaning that up before you import it into Adobe. And so start from the pedestrian bicycle trails that I added. You can add filters to it. So if I only wanted to show a specific type of bikeway or length, then I could go through and be trail name is, and this is something you actually have to be familiar with the data because it doesn't give you a handy drop down. If we just do length is greater than 1, I'm not even sure what 1 represents, but you can apply the filter and it will apply it to the data set as well. And hopefully that didn't take away my data entirely. Just remove the filter. Yeah. So you apply filters there. You can also change style using the little artist palette there, and it will give you options by either very similar to ArcGIS Online to the feature that's shown, and then also the drawing style. And so here, if I just said, okay, I want a 2-point width, then that makes it something that's workable. And these are not the final product, it's just something to get you started, because you'll be able to do a lot more editing once you've downloaded it from ArcGIS Online. So for public schools, if we were going to go ahead and label these, not loaded with an error. Thank you, I appreciate it. Why is it purple? Okay. Another thing you can do as well is you can drag and drop items. Not usually what I end up doing, so I'm going to see if that. Demonstrations are the best. One of the things, let's see if this one works. Why one of them? Okay. I think I may have broken it. It's very functional. Okay. Well, let's see. Is there anything else I needed to specifically mention? Show labels. They get busy, but it's something where you can create the label and then edit it once it's in Illustrator. Yeah, it'll let me add labels, so why not? Let's just for now. Let's not do it for the stations, though. And we can have places as well, which will include the full address, since you added it from their geocoder. I would just really change the style of the dots. Because, one of the things that you can do is you can categorize it based on different types. So, like for the St. Paul Public Schools, I would categorize it by whether it's a high school, middle school, or elementary school. And after later on down the road, but I guess I can't do that now. If it won't let me, then I can just move on to the downloading process. I'm going to turn off the labels for this. Okay. We'll edit things later. So, the data that you want and the map scale and the map platform, so if it lets you, then you can go ahead and download it. You can put the data and sync it up to your map if you decide you need to go back and get more. However, it takes a great deal of time to do that. Already it'll take a while to download just what I'm working from here. So it's something that you usually want to try to do as many edits as you can within this window before you download and import it into Adobe Illustrator. Some things to note. Yeah, I did completely make a map at one point and then decided to project it afterwards, and it just removed everything without warning me, and it was great. So if you want to apply a projection to your map beforehand, or to your map, then best do it before you start adding data to it. And change space map, which is all good things to learn. Yeah, search ArcGIS Online for data first is more, and then if you have data that is on your account and you know that you have it, but you can't find it within ArcGIS Online and the link isn't working. Usually the issue is that it doesn't have tags on it. The application requires that all data that is being used has tags shared to it. So we'll check that if you're having issues. I don't really. There's a default font that I don't have, so I just put in a different default. But now it's not responding. I did this yesterday and I didn't have a single issue, so I'm pleased. That's added once you download it to it, yeah. So as long as it decides finish up for me, I'm gonna, yeah. It takes a while. Let's see here. So it's creating an AI file. It saves it initially to your Adobe folder in your documents, but you can just save it and put it wherever you want once it's been created. So yeah.
Relying on internet connectivity.
Yeah.
So perhaps
Yeah, that point, yeah. And it's preparing all the layers, so it's downloading everything from ArcGIS Online till now. Everything that we've been applying has just been pulling from the cloud. Yeah, a vector file. Well, I do a scaled data set, so I wouldn't be able to zoom in on that vector data set. It's just the object for that map scale that you set it to, and so that's why the map scale is the first thing that you do in the map board, because everything is really, you can't go back and change your scale when getting data without losing everything. So that way the projection aspect is very it's going. Nope, now, yes, that's safe. Yeah, so it just said it's successfully downloaded. So I'll just close this little window because you might need to go back to it later, who knows. But this is what you get. And I'm going to set my Illustrator real quick to classic. There we go. All right. So, yeah, so the real power of this whole thing comes in is the everything is exported into. So your first one is your little Esri logo down on the bottom, and you can turn that on and off depending on whether or not you want it. You do get two different scale bars. They're kind of hidden right here. One in miles and one in kilometers. So you can choose. At one point it was only miles, but now they just give you both, so you can choose which one you want to turn off. And then the text that provides the scale that downloads, and then your different data sets are also layers. So we've got our Twin Cities bikes. Oh, this is the source material. So the Twin Cities bikes comes with your Esri, and then layer 1 is going to have all of our files. So at the top, our neat line border that we can use as a way to create our edge. We've got all of our labels. This is the labels for the base map, right? So these are not the labels of the city put on. So from there, it's all organized into different parts as well. So if I decided, hey, I don't want road symbology, or rather, I don't want all of the neighborhoods being labeled or cities, then I can just take them on, as I see fit. And we want to keep like the interstate symbols, but not much else. So you can just remove those as you see fit. These are labels for the schools, and so you can turn them on and off as you're working with them and edit them each individually. And there's all the places that we added from the high school search that I had earlier. And then this is the Nice Ride stations, and there's 2 of them because I tried using them twice. And then this is the dot layer that we're in. Again, that's ride data that we were given, and the trails layer that was also brought forth. And then under that, this is the North America layer is what it's called, and that's everything in the base map outside of the labels. So if I remember, this is these are locations or interest points, so they're just dots given for each one of those labels that we turned off that represent neighborhoods. And there's also locations here. I'm going to open this because all labeled. Yeah, points of interest. And there are little green symbols in the back. So if you look kind of over here. Off. Transportation, you can, it breaks it all down into roads. So this is the roads at the scale level, and so if you want pedestrian or surface roads, local roads, and really just simplify it, or you decide that maybe you don't want freeways for whatever reason on your roads. Probably take the arterials, and well, we're still missing parts, so yeah, who needs it? So you can do that, or you can yeah, leave them all on the group. And yeah, so there's a lot of flexibility. Oh, but I still got my shield labels. I better keep my roads. A lot of different capabilities of just what you can turn on and off and edit. You can change the colors. So here we have and golf courses, and if I select them all, that looks very pretty. But up here, I can choose flowers. Let's see what palettes I've got in flowers. I don't have it opened in here right now, so look at this Kelly apple green. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. And now I can find those up, or I can change the background. I believe unnamed is the one that, yeah. Let's that red. Oh yes, we are wonderful photographers here. Or blue. These ideas. My favorite are yellow maps. So they're my least. Okay. So that's a little of what you can do. And yeah, you can add more drawings on and make different adjustments from there. Another thing I don't have prepared specifically before we go in and make another file is you can use symbol libraries to import your symbology. So how this would work is say you have points for specific restaurants or places that have logos, and you use those logos to appear as symbology for each individual point. Then if you have a symbol library for those logos prepared, you can import them in as part of the process, so it makes it a little bit more straight there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this beautiful map because I want to come back to it. And it originally it files everything in my documents into an Adobe folder that just always created, but I like to organize my files, so I'm just going to save that in there. And then I can come back to it there. I just reopen my window. I'm going to close my layers. Then delete everything in my contents. Maybe. I'm going to go ahead and show from an existing map. So quickly, before we get too much further along, I'm going to go into my ArcGIS account and show maps that I'm importing in. Because the application will take some of your design that you've already done. So I've got my homework and lab one, very descriptive name title. It will take a lot of your design and import it in, but not all of them. So this is a map that I did inside of a class, and so it's different coffee shops within the Twin Cities, or within Minneapolis specifically, and the actual neighborhoods labeled as well. And I also have a layer for parks. This is what it looks like in ArcGIS Online. And if I go in, I'm going to just open the item here. Well, let's see if it will let me search for let's see, Barney Lab 1. Is that going to pull it up? Hey, it's there. All right. So when I click that, then it's going to bring in the scope of where it is. Which if I click close, then I'm going to go ahead and click that eye to view what it is looking at. And I would like to just, I wonder if my content specifically is messed up. You know what? I saved it, so I'm going to just close Illustrator, give it a moment about its spin, and restart it. Oh, yes. I will go into extensions, create a cloud. Great. Gotta sign in again. So, searching for that Barney 1, and now, try ArcGIS Online. There we go. So, immediately go here, and then we've got our window. Let's make this larger. So, all the data is there, and it took a little bit of how I symbolized, but it removed all the transparency. So it's not nearly as pretty of a map. I didn't keep the labels that I had designed either. So here I'm just going to work with my 3 data sets, and maybe this time around it will let me. All right, now it'll let me do it. So I'm trying to think. You know what? Actually, okay. I'm going to add data set again. Yeah, so we'll do locations. there we go. So now symbolized by total docks, so how many docks per each station, and it will do accounts and amounts for size, which is something that is obviously going to be difficult to create in Adobe Illustrator without a great organization. So this way you can set up your classification method and class breaks and how you want that to show up. You can also set up your legend here, and that will all get exported once you download it as part of your project. So that's where accounts is helpful as well. So yeah, that's a little, and then the neighborhoods, I need the labels on, and yeah, that's the correct one. And can edit the labels a little bit, so you can choose color, whether it's bold and italic. I just italic me and 11 as well. So that's so it's a little bit more manageable. But with that, then let's go and download it. And so this is the vector tile base map, or a section applied to it. It's going to move a little bit faster. And yeah, see that change. Okay. So this is what my map will actually cover all of my data. So that's a little funky, but maybe I focus within the center of the data anyways. So that is fine too. But if you look at the layers and how that came across, we do get our nice write data set. So each one of those sizes are organized for you into different levels. So if I'm to make those large ones not orange, but pick another palette. It's good this time. Fruit is great. So now those larger ones, a different color, if we want to put additional emphasis on the areas. And all the layer. And your base is now just a raster image that you can turn on and off. You also forget, do they get legend automatically? I'm not seeing a legend, so you will not have to create that, but you can always select from each layer just one of them and copy and add in your own. And those are the scale bars right there. So yeah, an overview a little bit of what the application can do. Just close it entirely. I think I did. Something, so if you wanted to connect it to a style library for Symbology, then you can go into your settings here, and that is for the wrong one. Let's see here. I think it's maybe in the processes. There it is. So in processes, up in that menu, you can use custom symbols, brushes, or swatches. Symbols would be your points, brushes your lines, and swatches your polygons. And if you decided that, you can check the box, and then you can run. However, it did not first connect where it should go and find that, so it didn't connect to anything. Let's see here. I forget which very regularly, so I am not. Oh.
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Question. I don't know how to use WebEx, so I have no clue how to find out
Oh,
what.
I've got some here.
Oh, okay,
And
perfect.
there's nothing direct right
Oh, my mic isn't working. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm not sure where it's located to add it. Sorry.
He must have just sent the question to you.
Yeah, that is. So he just asked, find the coffee shop icons, and that is what I am doing. Thanks. Okay. Oh, now it's there. It's because so under map board there is the processes and the settings, and the settings is where you can set your also. Oh. So, okay, so where the file goes, that's great. I did not know that. Learn something new every day. But library. So if you have an Illustrator file that has libraries to it, then you would just import the Illustrator file here. The two important things to know for that is that your library needs to have the same exact name as the layer here. So if I wanted to use a park swatch that I've created in the library, then I would want to make sure that that name matches exactly to the swatch that I've created within the library. But I use that a ton myself, so I don't have an example. For I learned that yesterday as I was playing around with some things. So a cool thing to check out if you work with different libraries. Just want so all of your locations. Let's say I think. Not overwrite. So if I was looking for coffee shop, particularly Caribou, would help if my data set was only the Caribou coffee shops first. Places are not going to be very helpful currently. Or could apply the same swatch to the whole group. So breaking down your data beforehand into those different categories is where that symbol property comes into play. Are there any other questions for me at this point in time?
You'll have one coming online soon.
Okay.
Anyone else have questions? You may want to repeat it.
How often are you building in Pro versus building in Illustrator? Like what's the kind of quality?
Yeah, so the question is how often are you building in Pro compared to Illustrator? I've been using Pro as my main GIS software for the last 6 months at this point. Getting there, or nearly getting there. And I've actually been very pleased with a lot of the cartographic ability in Pro, and just being able to make maps that are a good enough quality for what I'm looking for in my projects. They might not be completely Pro in their cartographic quality, but they do the trick. It's so much better than from where ArcMap was at that I find I'm pretty pleased there. The thing that I've been seeing where Illustrator is very helpful is if you're making a map that's, yeah, you're using map and some data there, but you're not really making a data-heavy map, right? I saw one example that I tried to track down yesterday so I could show you guys that was just really neat, that in Illustrator watched some demonstrations on how to use the application, signed up for a free account, and made just a really cute drawing of a world map with fish and creatures, and kind of done more of the illustrative artistic aspects of making maps sometimes. So it's not entirely trying to show data specifically, but allowing you to to take it to another level. The thing that I'm playing around right now that I will not show you guys because it's a work in progress and it's very ugly right now, but I'm taking data I've collected on all the shop locations at the Minnesota Renaissance Festival and using that as a basis to create a illustrative Renaissance themed map from that realm. And so yeah, this little tool would have made my life so much easier about a year ago when I first started the project, but it's something that I'm playing with now. Yeah.
There was another question online from Galen, but it was pretty much the same question I had.
Yeah.
Just wondering about importing layers or entire maps and then from ArcMap to Pro and then editing them in Illustrator. So that seems to be the workflow.
Yeah. An application is far more tied to ArcGIS Online and making maps than has any connection with Pro. Yeah, a lot of what you're doing in Pro, that's end product. I found a good way to export Pro files. You can export as a PDF in Pro and try and open that in Illustrator, but if you got the layer problems with ArcMap were as messy before, then you haven't seen what Pro does to PDF. So this is mainly for ArcGIS Online, and I did hear developers for the application at the user conference. They were saying that this is far more focused on people who are very design heavy in their projects and kind of bringing in the use of map data and having kind of this wealth of mapping possibilities available and applying it in design. So it's doing that. One of the main examples that they've got on their page of things that can be done is this map here where they just created a spreadsheet of the top 10 busiest locations and created that data display and imported it in and then just made a really nice kind of design map from it. So. Oh no. You cannot open Shapefiles, and that's where that's the reason why they push you to make that ArcGIS Online account. So that if you have a Shapefile and you want to open it, then you would first load it in as a feature layer in ArcGIS Online, and then search and add it from there. Sometimes it's easiest just to add it to a map and save that map and add the map in, rather than trying to add a specific layer. No, it's yeah. So the question was whether it costs anything, and it is free for use. You can get a free ArcGIS Online account. You just have to subscribe to the Adobe Creative Cloud.
So I have another follow-up question here. So he says, pretty much any geoanalytical workflows are still going to be done predominantly in ARC programs.
Yep, and it's going to be in ARC. Yep, this is this is for more making illustrative maps. And something I didn't demonstrate today is that you can use this in Photoshop as well. You can take those base maps that you're working with and work the raster using the Photoshop capabilities, and you can bring in some data sets that are raster based as well and manipulate them in Photoshop. But I have done a lot of that, so.
That would be going through Illustrator?
No, you would just do it in Photoshop. So I can open that real quick. Yeah, it's an extension. Then it just means what you download doesn't have that same vector layer list. It's going to be more the raster layers.
This tool works, or the app works with other versions of the Creative Suite.
The Creative Suite and how it's set up is that you are constantly updated as every or the Creative Cloud, sorry, you're updated as it goes up. So any updates you get to your application or updates to the software is automatically, but you have to have the Creative Cloud. So old versions of the Creative Suite it does not work on because it's drawing from the cloud and it's a cloud-based application by design. So it's you have to have that subscription, which is really kind of obnoxious because I know a lot of people work off of the original Creative software because they paid for it at one point, but the only way that the application can be kind of designed and implemented. So that's where it came from. Mm-hmm. I have no clue. So the question is, you can take themes from ArcGIS Online and bring them into Adobe, but can you apply it the other way, where you have themes that you've done in Adobe and can you publish it to ArcGIS Online? I don't. There's specific tools that are for resyncing it up to ArcGIS Online, because it's more for downloading the Illustrator file. But yeah, I'm sure that would be an interesting application. And a lot of the Illustrator file as well is to make that paper map version, so it may not be really useful on an interactive platform that ArcGIS Online is.
There's another question online, similar to what Len just asked. Is ArcGIS, are they synced to AI files and will it update? So that'd be the same thing.
Oh,
so if you change it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't reverse. And if there were any updates to that data file that you downloaded from, so like maybe the ones that I had is from an old data set. So if they decided to update that this week, that would not change the file at all because that downloading process was grabbing it all and it's not going back and getting it unless you tell it to sync again. And usually that second sync process is a little longer than the original, so I try and avoid it when possible, just because it's so long to do. So it's making any changes to anything in the cloud, and it's not still connected to the cloud once you've downloaded into the AI file. The file has the vector layers, and it's all just an image really that has the points, lines, and polygons that you can adjust any other Illustrator vector. Alright, well, back on with all the problems. Well,
Rebecca?